Maria had lived in the small town of Pine Hill for almost 10 years. It was a quiet place where people knew each other, where neighbors waved every morning and children played in the streets until the streetlights came on. For Maria, Pine Hill had become more than a home. It was a place where she could rebuild her life after losing her husband in an accident years ago. She had moved here with her only daughter, Lily, who was just 5 at the time. Together they had learned to survive, to smile again, and to find comfort in each other's company. Now Lily was 12, a bright girl with curious eyes and a gentle voice. She loved drawing, reading mystery books, and baking cookies every Sunday with her mother. Maria worked hard at a local diner called Sunny Spoon, doing long shifts to keep their small house running. She never complained, though. Every tired night was worth it when she came home and saw Lily waiting for her at the window, with her favorite mug of hot tea already ready. That night started like any other. The clock at the diner struck 8 as Maria wiped down the last table. Her co-worker, a cheerful older lady named Grace, smiled at her. "Long day again, Maria? You should rest more," Grace said. Maria gave a tired smile. "Maybe next week," she answered softly as she hung her apron. "Lily's waiting at home. She doesn't like being alone for too long," Grace chuckled. "That girl is lucky to have a mother like you. Get home safe now." The night air outside was cool, carrying the scent of rain and earth. Maria walked down the quiet street toward her house, her shoes clicking softly against the pavement. She looked at her watch. It was a little past 8:30. Usually she would see the light from Lily's room shining by then. But tonight, as she turned the corner, she noticed something strange. The house looked darker than usual. The living room light was off and the curtains were half closed. A small chill ran down her spine, but she brushed it away. Maybe Lily fell asleep early, she told herself. Still, something about the silence around the house felt unsettling. She unlocked the front door, pushing it open slowly. "Lily, I'm home," she called out. There was no answer. Only the faint ticking of the wall clock greeted her. She stepped inside, setting her purse on the table. The house was too quiet. Normally, she would hear Lily's laughter, or the sound of music coming from her small radio. The absence of that warmth made Maria's heart pound a little faster. She walked into the kitchen first. The dishes from breakfast were still in the sink, untouched. On the table sat Lily's school bag, neatly placed next to a half-empty glass of milk. The milk had gone warm, as if it had been sitting there for hours. Maria frowned. "Lily?" she called again, louder this time. "Where are you, sweetheart?" Still no answer. She moved quickly toward the living room, checking behind the sofa and curtains as if her daughter might suddenly pop out and shout, "Boo!" But she wasn't there. The television remote was on the couch and a blanket lay on the floor as though someone had dropped it in a hurry. Maria's pulse quickened. She went to Lily's room next. The little bed was unmade, the pillow slightly crumpled. Her favorite teddy bear, the one she never slept without, was lying on the floor near the window. The window itself was open just an inch, enough to let in the cool night breeze. Maria's breath caught. She whispered under her breath, "No, no, please not this." She checked the closet under the bed, behind the door, anywhere Lily might be. But the room was empty. Everything felt frozen in time, as if Lily had simply vanished in the middle of her evening routine. Maria's hands trembled as she reached for the phone and called the neighbor, Mrs. Turner, who lived across the street. Mrs. Turner was an older woman who often looked after Lily when Maria had to work late. "Hello." "Mrs. Turner, it's Maria. Did Lily come by your house tonight?" she asked, trying to steady her voice. "No, dear," Mrs. Turner replied, sounding concerned. "Is everything all right?" "I came home and she's not here," Maria said, her voice cracking slightly. "Oh my, I haven't seen her since afternoon when she came back from school." She waved at me before going inside. "That's the last I saw of her." Maria felt her stomach twist. "Thank you," she said quickly before hanging up. Her eyes darted to the clock. It was now 9. She rushed outside, calling her daughter's name into the dark street. "Lily, can you hear me?" "It's Mom!" Her voice echoed into the emptiness. No laughter, no footsteps, no reply. She checked the backyard, the small garden, even behind the old shed. Nothing. Only the sound of crickets filled the night. As panic grew heavier in her chest, she forced herself to think clearly. She returned to the house and looked for any clue, any small thing that could explain where Lily might have gone. On the kitchen counter, she noticed a folded piece of paper near the fruit bowl. Her hands shook as she opened it. The note said, "Don't worry, I'll be back soon." But the handwriting was not Lily's. It was uneven, almost shaky, as though written in a hurry. Maria stared at it, her breath shallow. Something deep inside told her this was not a simple disappearance. She sat down, holding the note tightly. Memories flashed before her. Lily waiting by the window, her laughter when they baked cookies, her small arms hugging her every morning before school. The thought of her being alone or scared somewhere broke Maria's heart. She picked up the phone and dialed the local police. Within 15 minutes, 2 officers arrived at her house. Officer Daniels, a tall man with kind eyes, took notes while his partner, Officer Riley, examined the house. "When did you last see your daughter?" Daniels asked. "This morning before school," Maria replied, her voice shaking. "I left for work at 1 in the afternoon. She was home when Mrs. Turner saw her after school. I came home just now and she's gone. Was anything unusual lately? Any new people around? Strange phone calls?" the officer asked. Maria thought for a moment. "There's a man who started coming to the diner this past week. He asked a lot of questions about me, what time I finished, where I live, but I thought he was just being friendly." The officer nodded thoughtfully. "Can you describe him?" "He was tall with dark hair and a scar near his neck. He said his name was Tom, but I'm not sure that was real." Officer Riley returned from checking the rooms. "No signs of forced entry," he said. "Window in the kids' room was open, though. Could be how someone got in." Maria felt her knees weaken. "Please find her," she whispered, tears filling her eyes. The officers promised to alert all patrols and begin searching immediately. They asked her to stay home in case Lily returned. But Maria couldn't sit still. She kept pacing near the door, her mind replaying every detail. She remembered that white van she'd seen parked down the street that morning near the corner store. It had been there 2 days in a row, but she hadn't thought much of it. Now it seemed important. By midnight, the police were combing nearby streets, shining flashlights into alleys and calling Lily's name. Maria stayed outside, wrapped in her shawl, unable to rest. The night felt endless. Every passing car made her heart jump. Around 1 in the morning, Officer Daniels came back with no news. "We're doing everything we can," he assured her. "We'll find her." Maria nodded weakly, though inside she felt something twist deeper. She couldn't rely only on waiting. She needed to do something herself. When the officers left, she walked back into Lily's room and sat on her bed. The note lay beside her, staring up at her like a mystery she couldn't solve. She took a deep breath and looked around the room again. That's when she noticed something she had missed before. Muddy footprints near the window. They were small, maybe from a child's shoe, but mixed among them was a larger print, much bigger than Lily's. It led toward the door and disappeared outside. Maria felt a sudden wave of determination. Whoever took her daughter had left traces, and she was going to find out who. She picked up her phone again, called Grace, and explained what had happened. Grace insisted she would help in any way she could. "I know some people who drive around town for deliveries," she said. "They might have seen that van you mentioned." Maria felt a flicker of hope. Maybe there was still a way to bring Lily back safely, but the fear remained heavy in her chest. The open window, the strange note, the van, all of it pointed to something dark she didn't yet understand. As dawn began to rise, the soft orange light touched the small town of Pine Hill. The world outside looked peaceful, almost unchanged, but Maria's life had shifted forever in just one night. The empty chair at the breakfast table, the silent house, the missing laughter, all of it reminded her that her daughter was out there, somewhere, waiting for her, and Maria silently promised herself one thing. No matter who took Lily, no matter why, she would not stop until she found her. Whatever it took, whoever was responsible, they would learn what it meant to break a mother's heart. The sun rose higher, painting the sky in pale gold, but Maria's resolve only grew stronger. This was not the end. It was just the beginning. The next morning came slowly. Maria had barely slept. She sat by the window, still wearing the same clothes from the night before, staring out at the street. Every sound outside made her look up. Every car that passed gave her a flash of hope that maybe it was Lily being brought home. But the hours went by and her daughter was still missing. The phone rang at 8. It was Officer Daniels. "We've got patrols out in the nearby areas," he said. "We're also checking security cameras from nearby stores. Do you remember anything else from yesterday that might help us?" Maria rubbed her tired eyes. "Just that white van I told you about." It was parked near the corner store all week. I never saw who drove it. All right, Daniel said. We'll look into that. Stay home for now. We'll send someone by to collect more details. After hanging up, Maria stood and looked around the small living room. It felt strange, so quiet and cold without Lily's presence. The little drawings Lily had stuck on the fridge stared back at her. One of them showed the two of them holding hands under a blue sky. It made Maria's heart ache. She decided she couldn't just wait. She needed to do something. She took a notebook from the table and began writing down everything she could remember from the past few days. People who came to the diner, anyone who asked questions about her, anything that felt odd. At the top of the list, she wrote one name, Tom, the man with the scar who had asked about her work hours. He had a strange smile, polite but unsettling. He had even asked about Lily once, saying, "You must worry about her being home alone." At the time, she had brushed it off, thinking he was just trying to make conversation. Now it felt like a warning she had ignored. As she sat deep in thought, there was a knock on the door. She opened it to see her neighbor, Mrs. Turner, holding a small tray of breakfast. "You need to eat something, dear," she said gently. "You'll need your strength." Maria forced a small smile. "Thank you, Mrs. Turner. Did you see or hear anything strange last night?" The older woman frowned. "No, but I did remember something. Around 6 in the evening, I heard a vehicle stop outside. I looked through the window and saw Lily talking to someone near the gate. I thought it was a family friend, so I didn't think much of it." Maria's heart raced. "Did you see who it was?" "It was a man, I think, wearing a dark jacket and a cap. He seemed to be showing her something, maybe a photo. Then they both walked a few steps toward the road. That's when I got distracted by the phone ringing inside." Maria's eyes widened. That must have been when he took her. Mrs. Turner placed a hand on her arm. "I'm so sorry, dear. If I had known, I would have stopped him." "It's not your fault," Maria whispered. "But this helps. It means she didn't just disappear. Someone lured her." After Mrs. Turner left, Maria quickly called Officer Daniels again and told him what she had learned. He promised to send a team to check for tire tracks and camera footage in that area. While waiting, Maria stepped outside and looked at the ground near the gate. The rain from last night had made the soil damp. There were faint marks of shoe prints, small and large. She crouched down, touching the mud with her fingers. The smaller prints were clearly Lily's. The larger ones led toward the street and stopped near the corner, exactly where the van had been parked before. Her heart sank, but also grew more determined. She followed the faint trail toward the corner. There she saw an old streetlight and a closed shop with a rusty camera fixed on top. Maybe it still worked. She noted it down to tell the police. As she turned to go back, she noticed something small on the ground near a bush, a colorful bracelet. Her breath caught when she recognized it. It was Lily's friendship bracelet, the one she had made with beads shaped like stars. Maria picked it up, her hands trembling. The bracelet was broken, as if torn off. That tiny piece of jewelry was now the strongest clue she had. When the police arrived later, she showed it to them along with the muddy prints. Officer Daniels looked serious. "You're very observant, Maria. This will help us. We'll check that security camera and see what we can find." Maria nodded, though her voice was weak. "Please find her. I can't sit here not knowing where she is. We're doing everything we can," Daniels assured her before leaving. As the day went on, more officers searched nearby woods and old buildings. Volunteers from the town joined too. Everyone liked Lily. She was the kind of girl who helped her classmates and always smiled at neighbors. The community felt the pain of her disappearance. Maria, however, stayed restless. She couldn't shake the image of that man from the diner. Around noon, she went there to see if anyone else remembered him. Grace, her co-worker, was surprised to see her. "Maria, you shouldn't be here," she said softly. "You need to rest." "I can't rest," Maria replied. "Do you remember that man who came here last week, the one who kept asking about me?" Grace nodded slowly. "The one with the scar, right? He was strange. He left a big tip but didn't eat much. I saw him again 2 nights ago, sitting in his car outside, just watching." Maria's chest tightened. "Did you see the car?" "Yes, a white van. I thought he might be one of the delivery drivers. That confirmed it. The man who had watched her at work had also taken her daughter. But why? What did he want?" Maria returned home, her mind spinning with questions. As she entered the living room, she noticed the answering machine blinking. There was a new message. She pressed play. A low voice filled the room. If you want to see your daughter again, stop talking to the police. Her heart stopped. The voice was calm, almost cold. She grabbed the phone, trying to trace the number, but it showed as unknown. She replayed the message, hoping to catch a clue in the background. There was a faint sound, maybe traffic or machinery, but it wasn't clear. For a few minutes, she stood frozen, fear and anger mixing inside her. Then she took a deep breath. Whoever that person was, they thought they could scare her into silence. But Maria wasn't going to stop. She recorded the message and took it to the police station. Officer Daniels listened carefully. "This changes things," he said. "It means she's alive and they're watching. We'll trace the call. Don't answer unknown numbers and keep your doors locked." Maria nodded. "Please just find her." While the officers worked on tracing the number, Maria went back home and sat on the couch, holding Lily's bracelet in her hand. She felt torn between hope and fear. Every memory of Lily played in her mind. Her first day at school, her laughter during movie nights, the way she said goodnight every evening. Those memories gave Maria strength. By evening, Grace visited with some food. "I talked to one of the delivery boys," she said. "He said there's a warehouse near the edge of town where he saw a white van parked a few nights in a row. Maybe it's the same one." Maria's heart jumped. "Do you know where exactly?" "It's near the old mill road past the bridge." Maria thanked her and wrote it down. She shared it with Officer Daniels, who promised to send a team to check it out in the morning. But Maria's instincts told her that waiting might be too late. Something inside whispered that Lily was there right now, scared and alone. That night she couldn't sleep. The wind howled outside and every sound seemed louder. Around midnight she stood up, grabbed her coat and quietly stepped out. She drove her small car toward the edge of town, her hands gripping the wheel tightly. The streets were empty except for the soft glow of the streetlights. Her heart pounded with every mile she covered. When she reached the old mill road, she parked behind a cluster of trees and turned off her headlights. In the distance, she saw it. A white van parked beside a large warehouse. The building looked abandoned, its windows covered with dust. But faint light glowed from one of the rooms inside. She sat quietly watching. Shadows moved behind the glass. Two figures, one tall, one shorter, seemed to be talking. Her breath caught when she heard a faint sound, like a child crying. It was far, but her mother's instinct knew that voice. It was Lily. Tears filled her eyes, but she wiped them away quickly. She couldn't break down now. She took out her phone and called Officer Daniels, whispering what she saw. He told her to stay hidden and that backup was on the way. As she waited, she watched the door open. A man stepped out, smoking a cigarette. Even from that distance, she recognized the scar on his neck. It was the same man from the diner. Rage burned inside her chest, but she forced herself to stay calm. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, she saw flashing lights approaching in the distance. The man turned, noticing them too, and ran inside the warehouse. Officers jumped out of their cars, shouting orders. The sound of footsteps shouting and breaking glass filled the night. Maria's heart raced as she watched the scene unfold. She wanted to run inside, to hold her daughter, but one of the officers stopped her. "Please stay back, ma'am," he said firmly. Moments later, two officers emerged, leading a trembling figure wrapped in a blanket. It was Lily. Her hair was messy, her eyes wide with fear, but she was safe. Maria ran forward, tears streaming down her face, and hugged her tightly. "I'm here, sweetheart. I'm here," Lily sobbed into her shoulder. "Mom, I was so scared. They said they were your friends." Maria held her tighter. "You're safe now. I promise no one will hurt you again." As the police led the men away in handcuffs, Maria looked at the scarred man. He glared at her with cold eyes, but she didn't flinch. He might have taken her daughter, but he could not break her spirit. And though the night was ending, after the arrests that night, Pine Hill felt both safer and shaken. The white van, the warehouse, and the men in handcuffs were proof that danger had come close to home. Yet Maria knew there were still many questions left behind, like small footprints in the mud. Who had helped them? How had they learned about her schedule? Why had they chosen Lily? The town gathered at the small community hall for a meeting the next day. People brought warm dishes and sat in folding chairs, speaking softly about the recent events. Some worried about their own children. Others wanted to thank the officers who had worked through the night. Maria sat near the back, holding Lily's hand. Her daughter was quieter than usual, her eyes still wide from the fear of being taken. Maria felt a fierce need to protect her and to learn everything that had led to this. Officer Daniels spoke at the front. He explained that the two men arrested were part of a small group that had been watching neighborhoods for a while. They picked houses where parents worked late and tried to lure children away with promises or pretended to be friends. The good news was that the immediate threat had been stopped, but investigations would continue. After the meeting, many neighbors came to speak with Maria. Offers of help and kind words made her voice catch with emotion, yet one neighbor's silence worried her more than the crowd's chatter. Mr. Allen, the elderly man who lived 2 doors down, had been quiet and serious since the day Lily vanished. He had been the one who first mentioned seeing a van parked near the house in the days before the kidnapping. Now he stood by his fence looking at the ground. Maria walked over. "Mr. Allen, thank you for telling me about the van," she said softly. He looked up, his eyes tired. "You are welcome, Maria," he replied. "I did what I could." He hesitated, then added, "But there is something else I saw. I did not tell the police at first because I did not think it mattered." Maria's heart quickened. "What did you see?" He led her to his small garden and sat on a bench. His hands trembled slightly when he spoke. "A few nights before Lily disappeared, I saw 2 people walking near your house. One of them was a woman. She seemed to be keeping watch. They talked quietly and then left. I thought 2 neighbors, perhaps. But later I saw the same woman at the corner store. She was buying bread and talking on her phone. Her coat had a small pin on it, a blue flower. Maria had a sudden memory. A week earlier, a woman had come into the diner asking questions about local mothers. She had worn a blue scarf and had been polite when Maria had answered. Maria had thought her friendly. Now that detail seemed important. "Did you get a good look at her face?" Maria asked. Mr. Allen nodded slowly. "Yes, she had a small scar on her chin. I thought it was a mark from a childhood accident. I did not say anything because I did not think that someone would hurt a child." "Do you think she knew my routine?" Maria asked. "I think so," he said. They seemed to be studying who was home and who was away. Maria felt the room tilt for a moment. The men arrested were not alone. Someone else had been watching them. Someone who could move around the town without raising suspicion. That woman might be more than a stranger. She shared this information with Officer Daniels later that day. The officer thanked Mr. Allen and promised to follow up. Maria stayed close to the investigation, asking questions and helping where she could. Her efforts were not only for Lily, but for every family in Pine Hill. In the days that followed, the police found more clues. The 2 men had a small notebook with names and notes. Several of the entries were crossed out, but one name stood clear: Maple Street, Maria's house. Another list had times written next to houses. It appeared they had planned their actions carefully. The investigation was growing, revealing a pattern that chilled Maria and the town. The woman with the blue flower pin became a person of interest. Officer Daniels showed Maria a photo from a nearby store's security camera. A woman wearing a blue pin and a dark coat walked into view. She looked calm and normal, holding a small shopping bag. Maria's stomach knotted. It was the same woman she had seen talking to Lily that afternoon near the gate, the one Mrs. Turner had mentioned. Maria's memory of the woman's friendly smile turned bitter. The police found the woman's name through a careful search of town records and friendly questions. Her name was Anna Morales, and she worked at a local charity that often visited families. She had a quiet voice and a kind manner, which made other neighbors trust her. When officers came to speak with her, she acted surprised and claimed she had no idea about the men's plans. She said she had been friendly with many in town because of her charity work. Yet small details did not match her story. Witnesses said they had seen Anna near the corner store on the nights the van had been parked. She had also been seen leaving the warehouse area around the same time the men had met there. When asked, Anna first denied it, then said she had been running errands. Her answers were fuzzy and often changed. The week grew heavy with tension. Some in the town did not want to believe that a familiar face could be linked to danger. Others felt betrayed and frightened. Maria understood both feelings. She remembered how Anna had smiled and asked about Lily, how she had once offered baked bread to the children at the park. Maria wanted to hope Anna was innocent, but she could not ignore the growing evidence. One afternoon, Maria found a small envelope slipped under her door. Inside was a single photograph of Lily smiling at a park bench. On the back, written in pencil, were the words, "Listen to us or more will happen." Maria's hands shook as she showed the photo to Officer Daniels. The note made it clear that the people they had arrested were part of something larger. Someone wanted to frighten her. The police increased patrols and set up a safe line for tips. Officers also asked Maria to take shelter with a family friend until they could be sure the town was safe. She refused. "I cannot leave Lily," she told them. "She needs to feel safe in her own house. I will not let fear rule our home." Lily, for her part, began to sleep more at night, though she still woke often. She clung to a small blanket and to her mother. Maria tried to keep routines normal, making breakfast, going through school projects, baking cookies on Sunday. Each small act felt like defiance against the fear the strangers had tried to create. At school, teachers were kind and watchful. Children who had once walked together in groups now came with more adults. The parents took turns watching the children outside the school gates. Maria was grateful. The town was not the same as before, but people were trying to protect one another. As the days passed, more pieces came together. Ana Morales' phone records showed calls to one of the men arrested. When questioned, Ana admitted she had known them. She had been friendly with the group at first, thinking they were lost men looking for work. But when she learned what they were doing, she claimed she tried to help by warning some families. Her tone shifted between guilt and fear. The police did not trust her fully. "You may have helped them without knowing," Officer Daniels told Maria quietly. "Or you may have helped them on purpose. That is what we need to find." Maria watched Anna's life unfold in small pieces during the investigation. Anna's charity work records showed she had visited many houses. She had access to schedules and children's routines more than most. The idea that someone could use kindness as a cover felt like a knife to the heart. One evening, Mr. Allen stopped by with a small box of tea. He sat with Maria and Lily on the front steps. "I have been thinking," he said. "It is hard to believe someone we know could hurt our children. But sometimes people hide things very well." Lily looked up at Mr. Allen with a serious face. "Why would someone do that?" she asked. Mr. Allen took a deep breath. "Some people are looking for power. They want to make others feel scared so they can control them. But we are stronger together." Maria held Lily close. The birdsong of evening felt nearly normal again, but Maria knew the battle was not over. The town had changed. People now watched carefully and trust came slower. Yet that watchfulness also made them stronger. Weeks later, Anna faced charges for helping the men by sharing information about families' schedules. She denied the worst accusations but admitted she had met with the group. The judge placed her under strict supervision, while the police continued to investigate connections to a larger network. The arrest helped the town feel safer, but it did not erase the pain of what had happened. For Maria, the trial was both a test and a lesson. People came forward with stories of Anna's generosity. Others told how Anna had slipped notes to certain homes or been at places she claimed she had not been. Evidence and witness accounts came together like cross-stitches on a quilt, revealing patterns of betrayal and fear. Through it all, Maria learned more about her neighbors and about herself. She found strength she had not known she had. Where fear tried to take hold, she found courage. She met with other parents and helped form a watch group. They set schedules for watching the streets and making sure children traveled safely. The town's bonds grew tighter and the community began to heal. One night, as Maria sat on the porch after tucking Lily into bed, she watched the stars and thought about the long months they had been through. The feeling of being watched had left scars, but it had also taught them to look after one another. She knew there would be more work ahead. Court days, tough questions. Maria's heart was heavy as she sat in the small police office late at night. Her hands trembled as she clutched Lily's small jacket, which the officers had found near the warehouse. Lily was safe now, resting at the hospital under the care of kind nurses, but Maria's mind could not find peace. She wanted to know everything about what had happened, who had taken her daughter, and most importantly, why. The police had promised to investigate, but Maria knew that answers would not come easily. She had seen too much fear in Lily's eyes to believe that the nightmare was truly over. Detective Harris walked into the room with a folder in his hands. His face was serious, his voice calm but firm. He told Maria that the people who had taken Lily were part of a small group that had been under suspicion for months. They targeted children whose parents worked long hours and lived in quiet neighborhoods. The kidnappers pretended to be friendly faces, visiting local places to learn about families. That explained why the man who often came to Maria's diner had asked so many questions. He had been watching her all along. Maria listened in silence, her hands gripping the table. She could not believe that such cruelty could exist behind such ordinary faces. The detective showed her a few photographs of the suspects, and she recognized one of them immediately. It was the same man she had seen near the white van. He looked harmless, almost kind, but Maria knew the truth now. She took a deep breath and told the detective everything she remembered about the night Lily disappeared, every small detail she could recall. Later, Maria went to the hospital. When she entered Lily's room, her daughter was awake. Her eyes were open, filled with tears but also relief when she saw her mother. Maria sat beside her and gently brushed her hair. Lily whispered softly that she had been taken by two people who told her that her mother was waiting for her at a nearby park. They had spoken kindly to her, pretending to be family friends. But when she realized they were lying, it was already too late. They took her to the warehouse and locked her there, telling her to stay quiet. She was scared, but she believed her mother would find her. Hearing that broke Maria's heart, but it also gave her strength. Her daughter's faith had kept her alive. The next few days were filled with questions from reporters and investigators. Maria didn't want attention. She just wanted peace. But she also wanted justice. The police assured her that the people behind this would be punished. But Maria's instincts told her that not everyone involved had been caught. She kept noticing strange things, like a car parked across her street every evening, or unknown numbers calling her phone and hanging up. At first she thought it was her imagination, but her gut said otherwise. One evening, when she stepped outside to get some air, she noticed the same white car parked near the corner again. It had tinted windows, and though she couldn't see inside, she could feel eyes watching her. Maria's fear returned, but she refused to let it control her. She took out her phone and quickly snapped a picture of the car's number plate. The next morning, she showed it to Detective Harris. He promised to look into it. Later that day, he called her and confirmed her suspicion. The car was registered under a fake name, and the address led nowhere. Someone was still keeping an eye on her and Lily. Maria realized that the nightmare was not yet over. The people who had taken her daughter had connections, and they were not happy that their plan had failed. She began to take precautions. She changed her phone number, installed cameras around her house, and asked a close friend from work, Nora, to stay with her for a few days. Nora was kind and protective, and her presence made Maria feel less alone. But deep down, Maria knew that she would not rest until she understood the full truth. One night, Maria sat in her living room watching the security footage on her phone. Most of the time, everything looked normal. But around midnight, she saw a shadow move near her backyard. Her heart skipped a beat. She replayed the clip and saw it again, a tall figure standing near the fence, staring at the house before disappearing into the darkness. Maria called the police right away. When they arrived and searched the area, they found footprints leading toward the forest behind her home. The officers believed someone was watching her, but they couldn't identify who it was. Maria's fear turned into determination. She was tired of being afraid. She decided that if anyone tried to harm her family again, she would make sure they faced justice herself. The next morning, Maria visited the old warehouse with Detective Harris to identify the place once more. The inside was now sealed off with yellow tape, and officers were collecting evidence. The walls were covered in strange markings, and old photographs of children were found hidden in drawers. It was clear that this place had been used for a long time. Maria shivered at the thought that others might have suffered the same fate as Lily. The detective told her that the man and woman they had arrested were only small parts of a larger network that traded personal information about vulnerable families. Hearing that filled Maria with anger. How could anyone build such cruelty? She wanted to see every person involved face punishment. After returning home, Maria began to notice Lily's behavior changing. Her daughter was quiet and often woke up in the middle of the night, frightened by dreams. Maria tried to comfort her, telling her that no one would ever hurt her again. She told her stories, made her favorite meals, and even took time off work to stay close. But deep down, Maria carried guilt. She blamed herself for not being home that evening. She kept replaying the day in her mind, wishing she could have done something differently. But she also knew that guilt would not help her daughter heal. Strength would. One afternoon, while organizing old bills and letters, Maria found something that made her stop. It was an envelope that had been slipped under her door. There was no name, no return address. Inside was a single piece of paper with a short message. "You shouldn't have gone to the police." Her blood ran cold. It was a warning. Someone was trying to scare her into silence. But instead of fear, Maria felt a rising fire inside her. They had taken her daughter once, and now they were trying to threaten her again. She wouldn't allow it. She immediately called Detective Harris and showed him the letter. He took it seriously and promised to send a team to keep watch around her house. That night, Maria couldn't sleep. She kept checking the windows, listening for any sound outside. Around 2 a.m., she heard a car engine start near her driveway. She looked through the blinds and saw the same white car speeding away. She quickly noted down the time and direction it went. The next morning, the police found the car abandoned near the old bridge. Inside, they discovered documents and photos of multiple families, including Maria's. It was clear that this was not random. It was organized and planned. Detective Harris told Maria that the files were connected to a group that operated under false names, gathering data on families through small-town businesses and schools. They targeted parents who were often alone and working long hours. The police began tracing their communication and discovered that the group had more members spread across nearby towns. Maria realized that what happened to her daughter was part of something far bigger than anyone had known. As investigations continued, Maria decided to speak publicly. She gave a statement to a local news channel, urging other parents to be cautious and not to trust strangers who pretended to be friendly. Her courage inspired many, and soon other families came forward sharing similar experiences. The police now had more leads, and one by one, members of the network were caught. Maria watched as justice began to unfold slowly but surely. But even with the arrests, Maria never forgot the fear she had felt the night her daughter vanished. She knew that evil often hides behind calm faces, so she made a promise to herself. She would help other parents stay safe. She began working with a community group to create awareness programs and safety workshops for families. It gave her purpose and helped her heal. Lily, too, started to smile again. She began painting and spending time with other children, her laughter slowly returning to the house. Each time Maria saw her daughter happy, she felt a mix of relief and gratitude. They had both come through darkness and found light again. As the days passed, Maria knew that the people who had tried to harm her family had failed. They had underestimated a mother's strength. They thought they could silence her with fear, but they only made her stronger. Now she stood as a symbol of courage, showing that even in the face of cruelty, hope and love could win. Maria often looked at the old warehouse when she passed by it. It had been completely shut down, covered with warning signs, but to her it was not just an abandoned building. It was a reminder of how close she had come to losing everything, and how hard she had fought to protect what mattered most. She walked away from it with her head held high, knowing that justice might be slow, but it would always come, and she would make sure of it. The days following the warehouse discovery were a mixture of relief and tension for Maria. Lily was safe. The kidnappers were in custody, but Maria's motherly instincts told her that the nightmare was not entirely over. She could feel eyes on them sometimes, small signs that someone was still watching. Maria knew she had to remain vigilant, but she also realized that fear could not control her life. She needed to turn her pain into action, to make sure that justice was fully served, not just for Lily, but for every family that might have been threatened by the same people. Maria began her day early, waking before the sun and preparing breakfast for Lily. The girl was still cautious, looking over her shoulder now and then, but Maria spoke softly and assured her that they were safe. "We are together, Lily, that is what matters," she told her. Lily nodded, clutching her favorite blanket. The warmth of routine of normal life was slowly helping them both heal. At the police station, Detective Harris had updates. More members of the kidnapping group had been arrested in nearby towns. They had been using fake charity programs and neighborhood visits to learn about parents' schedules. The men Maria had faced directly were only a small part of a larger plan that spanned months. The police were now working tirelessly to ensure every member faced justice. Maria wanted to see the process through. She spent hours with the investigators, providing details and recollections that helped connect the dots. She described the man and woman who had taken Lily, the strange visits to the diner, and the white van she had noticed weeks ago. Each small piece of information helped the police trace communication and uncover other plans that had not yet been executed. One morning, Maria received a call from Detective Harris. "We have enough evidence to charge the entire group," he said. "We've found records, messages, and contacts that prove their plans. Court dates are being set." Maria's heart lifted. This was the moment she had been waiting for. The moment she could see justice start to take shape. At home, Maria focused on rebuilding a sense of normalcy for Lily. She brought her to the park, helped her meet friends again, and even allowed her to visit the corner store she had once feared. Slowly, Lily's laughter returned. Maria observed the small victories, seeing that her daughter's spirit was healing. Every smile, every hug, every time Lily said, "I feel safe now, Mama," strengthened Maria's resolve. But Maria also knew that the people responsible had to face consequences. She began documenting everything: her notes, photographs, security footage, and recordings of threats. She worked with the police to ensure these would be presented in court. She attended hearings and spoke with the district attorney, making certain that no detail would be overlooked. The trial was intense. Members of the group tried to appear harmless, claiming they had no malicious intent. But Maria, sitting in the courtroom every day, felt no doubt. The evidence was strong. Photos, phone records, witness testimonies, and her own detailed accounts made a clear picture of the premeditated plans. Maria had turned fear into strength, and now, it was being used to protect not just her child, but the entire town. During the trial, Lily stayed with Maria's sister, who had come to help. Maria visited her daughter daily, reading stories, laughing at small jokes, and allowing Lily to feel the safety and love she deserved. Sometimes Lily would ask questions about the trial. Maria explained gently that the people who had hurt them were now facing justice. Lily listened, understanding that fairness was being restored. As the days passed, one by one, the leaders of the group were sentenced. The courts handed down strict punishments, ensuring that none of them could harm any family again. Maria attended the sentencing, feeling a mix of relief and satisfaction. She had witnessed the justice system work, aided by her courage and persistence. The people who had brought fear into her home would now face consequences for their actions. After the trial, Maria returned home with Lily. The house felt lighter, brighter, as though the tension that had hovered for months had begun to lift. Maria spent that evening sitting on the porch with Lily, holding her hand and looking out at the quiet street. Neighbors walked by waving hello, and the small town seemed to return to its normal rhythm. Maria felt a deep sense of gratitude. The ordeal had been difficult, but the strength she had discovered within herself had carried her through. Maria also worked with the community to ensure safety for all families. She helped organize neighborhood watch programs, held meetings about identifying suspicious behavior, and even started a small network for parents to share information about safety concerns. She wanted Pine Hill to be stronger, more vigilant, and more united than ever. One evening, as the sun set, Maria and Lily walked through the park. The sky was painted in shades of orange and pink. Children played, parents chatted, and for the first time in months, Maria felt a calmness she had thought she had lost forever. She watched Lily run ahead, laughing freely, her fears fading with each step. Maria's heart swelled with pride and relief. She had faced danger, navigated fear, and ensured justice. Now she could allow herself to breathe again. Yet Maria never forgot the lessons she had learned. She understood the importance of vigilance, of courage, and of community. She knew that evil could hide behind friendly faces and ordinary routines, but she also knew that love, determination, and justice could overcome fear. In the weeks that followed, Maria and Lily continued to rebuild their life. They painted Lily's room in bright colors, planted flowers in the garden, and returned to their weekend routines. Maria went back to the diner but remained cautious, always aware of her surroundings. Lily returned to school, making new friends and reconnecting with old ones. Each small step was a triumph, a victory over the darkness they had endured. One afternoon, Maria received a letter in the mail. It was from the court confirming that all members of the kidnapping group had been sentenced, and no appeals had succeeded. The sense of closure was profound. Maria folded the letter carefully and placed it in her drawer. It was a symbol of the battles won and the peace restored. That night, Maria tucked Lily into bed and sat beside her, brushing her hair softly. "You are safe, Lily," she whispered. "No one will ever hurt you again." Lily smiled, hugging her mother tightly. Maria felt tears of joy streaming down her face. Every sleepless night, every moment of fear, had led to this relief. In the following months, Maria and Lily continued to live quietly. Their home was full of laughter, meals, and shared stories. The bond between them had grown stronger, tested by fear but strengthened by love. The community, inspired by Maria's courage, remained vigilant, supporting each other and teaching children how to be safe. Maria often reflected on the journey they had taken, from the night Lily vanished to the courtroom, to the quiet mornings in the park. She realized that fear could never truly control a mother's love. The people who had tried to intimidate her had failed because she had refused to be powerless. She had faced the unknown, taken action, and ensured that justice would protect not only her child, but others as well. One evening, as she and Lily walked home from school, Maria paused at the corner where the white van had once been parked. She looked down the empty street and smiled softly. The street that had once brought terror now symbolized resilience. Her daughter skipped ahead, happy and free, and Maria's heart was at peace. She knew that life might still hold challenges, but she had learned that courage, vigilance, and love could face any danger. And as she held Lily's hand and walked home, Maria felt a profound certainty. They had survived fear, they had found justice, and they had reclaimed their life together. The ordeal had been terrifying, but it had revealed the power of a mother's heart. Maria had made sure that those who tried to harm her daughter paid for their actions, and in doing so, she restored safety and hope to her family. Pine Hill could return to its quiet rhythm, but Maria knew that vigilance and courage would always remain. She had faced darkness and emerged stronger, ensuring that Lily could grow up safe, loved, and free. As the stars appeared in the night sky, Maria and Lily sat on the porch, watching them sparkle. Maria whispered a promise to her daughter. "I will always protect you, Lily, always." And Lily, leaning against her mother, knew it was true. The trials of the past months had ended, justice had been served, and a bright, peaceful future awaited them. In the heart of Pine Hill, life returned to its quiet charm. Children played, neighbors talked, and the town thrived with a new awareness of safety and care. Maria and Lily had faced fear together and emerged victorious. The story of their courage became a quiet legend in the town, a tale of a mother's love that would not be broken, a story of resilience and the power of justice. Maria's eyes softened as she looked at Lily. "We are safe now," she said softly, and for the first time in months Maria believed it completely. The darkness had passed and the warmth of home and family had returned. Peace, hard-won and enduring, had finally settled over them.